When Barron Trump walked into LA's most exclusive restaurant, he didn't expect a simple red hat to spark chaos. What happened next changed everything. When Barron Trump, wearing his signature MAGA hat, was thrown out of the ultra-chic LA Terrasse for violating their neutral space policy, the manager thought he was upholding the restaurant's image. Little did he know, he was about to ignite a social media firestorm and witness a stunning act of defiance that would change his perspective forever. The California sun streamed through the large windows of LA Terrasse, dappling the chic, minimalist decor with warm light. It was a typical sunny afternoon in Los Angeles, the kind of day that made the city feel like a movie set. LA Terrasse, known for its exclusivity and its clientele of A-list celebrities, influencers, and the city's elite, hummed with a quiet, sophisticated energy. This was a place where deals were struck in hushed tones, where the air itself seemed to shimmer with ambition and success. It was a place to see, and more importantly, to be seen. Barron Trump, now a teenager navigating the complexities of his unique life, decided to treat himself to a late lunch at this very establishment. He'd grown into a thoughtful young man, tall for his age, with a quiet intensity in his eyes. He carried himself with a calm composure, a stark contrast to the often tumultuous world that surrounded him. On this particular day, he wore a simple, well-tailored outfit, topped with a red MAGA hat. It wasn't a statement intended to provoke. It was simply a part of who he was, a personal expression that he wore without fanfare or apology. He wore it not as a symbol of division, but as a symbol of his own identity, an identity he was still very much in the process of defining. He approached the restaurant entrance with no pretense, not demanding special attention. He simply wanted to enjoy a peaceful meal. He stepped inside, the cool air of the restaurant a welcome change from the afternoon heat. The maitre d' greeted him with a practiced smile, recognizing him instantly. Barron was shown to a quiet table near the window, a spot with a view of the bustling street outside. He settled into his seat, the soft leather cool against his skin. The restaurant was a study in contrasts. The muted conversations of the patrons, the clinking of silverware on fine china, the soft jazz playing in the background, all creating an atmosphere of refined elegance that was about to be subtly, yet irrevocably, disrupted. He was used to the stares, the whispers, the preconceived notions that people had about him. He had learned to navigate those situations with a quiet dignity, understanding that he carried a weight of expectation, a legacy that was both a privilege and a burden. Barron had barely begun to peruse the menu when a tall, impeccably dressed man approached his table. It was the restaurant manager, Mr. DuPont, his usually affable face now etched with a strained politeness. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes, which darted nervously around the room. "Master Trump," he began, his voice a low murmur intended for Barron's ears only. "While we are delighted to have you here at LA Terrasse, we do strive to maintain a neutral space for all our guests. We have a strict policy regarding attire that could be considered politically divisive." He paused, his gaze fixed on the red hat. "I'm afraid I must ask you to remove your hat." Barron looked up, surprised. He had been in countless establishments, in countless cities, and this was a first. He met the manager's gaze directly, his expression calm but questioning. "I understand," he said, his voice even and respectful. "But this hat is part of who I am. I'm not wearing it to make a statement or to offend anyone." His natural shyness melted away. He stood his ground, meeting the manager's gaze, even though a part of him wanted to disappear into the shadows. Mr. DuPont's smile tightened. "I appreciate that, sir. However, our policy is firm. It's about ensuring the comfort of all our guests. We simply cannot allow any attire that might be perceived as provocative." The underlying tension was palpable. The manager's tone, though polite, held a hint of steel, a silent dare for Barron to challenge him. A hush seemed to fall over the surrounding tables. Heads turned, conversations faltered. The subtle shift in atmosphere was like a ripple spreading across the surface of a still pond. The air, once filled with the gentle hum of polite conversation, now crackled with unspoken tension. People were watching, listening, judging. Barron felt the weight of their gazes, the unspoken questions hanging in the air. The feeling of being an outsider, of being judged before he even spoke, was a familiar one. Barron considered his options. He could argue. He could demand to speak to a higher authority. He could create a scene. But that wasn't his style. He valued respect, both giving it and receiving it. Escalating the situation wouldn't change the manager's mind, and it certainly wouldn't create the peaceful lunch he had been hoping for. "I understand," Barron repeated, his voice still calm. He stood up, his chair scraping softly against the polished floor. "I wouldn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. I'll take my business elsewhere." He replaced his hat firmly on his head and, without another word, walked towards the exit, leaving a stunned silence in his wake. Each footstep seemed to echo in the now silent restaurant. He didn't look back, but he could feel the eyes on him, a mixture of curiosity, judgment, and perhaps even a hint of admiration. As he walked, Barron felt a wave of disappointment wash over him. It wasn't just about the hat or the lunch he wouldn't be having. It was about something deeper, something about the principles of kindness and respect that he valued so highly, principles that seemed to have been violated in this supposedly sophisticated establishment. He wondered if this is what his father had felt so many times. He wondered if this was how so many people felt, dismissed and judged simply for who they were. He felt a profound sense of loneliness in that moment, a feeling of being misunderstood and misrepresented. The incident left a bitter taste in his mouth, a feeling of injustice that lingered long after he stepped out into the bright California sunshine. The incident at LA Terrasse could have ended there. Barron could have retreated, nursing his wounded pride in private. He could have lashed out on social media, igniting a firestorm of controversy. But that wasn't who he was. He had been raised to believe in the power of action, in the importance of turning adversity into opportunity. As Barron walked away from the restaurant, he decided to turn the negative experience into something positive. Instead of succumbing to anger or resentment, he began to formulate a plan, a way to respond that was both constructive and meaningful. He envisioned a different kind of statement, one that spoke not of division, but of unity. Over the next few days, Barron worked tirelessly. He reached out to friends, to local organizations, to anyone who shared his belief in the importance of community and understanding. He decided to organize a fundraiser, a community event that would bring people together, regardless of their political beliefs. He envisioned an event that would celebrate diversity, promote dialogue, and raise money for a local charity that supported underprivileged youth. The idea quickly gained momentum. People were drawn to Barron's positive vision, his genuine desire to make a difference. Friends offered their help, local businesses donated resources, and volunteers signed up in droves. The event would be held in the open space directly outside of LA Terrasse. A not-so-subtle statement and an olive branch all in one. There would be food trucks offering a diverse array of cuisines, live music from local bands, and booths representing various charitable organizations. It would be a celebration of community, a testament to the power of unity in the face of division. The day of the fundraiser arrived, bathed in the same golden California sunshine that had graced the day of the incident. The space outside LA Terrasse was transformed. Colorful banners fluttered in the breeze, the aroma of delicious food filled the air, and the sound of music and laughter created a vibrant, festive atmosphere. A large stage was set up at one end, where Barron, looking slightly nervous but determined, prepared to address the crowd. The turnout was far greater than anyone had anticipated. People from all walks of life, from different backgrounds and with different beliefs, came together to support the cause. The media, initially drawn by the controversy surrounding Barron, were now captivated by the positive energy of the event. Cameras flashed, reporters scribbled notes, and the story of Barron's initiative began to spread far and wide. When Barron finally took the stage, a hush fell over the crowd. He looked out at the sea of faces, a mix of familiar and unfamiliar, and took a deep breath. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice amplified by the speakers. "A few days ago, I was asked to leave this restaurant because of what I was wearing. It was a disappointing experience, but it made me think about the importance of understanding and respect. Instead of letting that incident divide us, I wanted to create something that would bring us together." He paused, letting his words sink in. "This event is about more than just raising money for a good cause. It's about showing that we can disagree with each other without being disrespectful. It's about celebrating our diversity and finding common ground. It's about building bridges instead of walls. He spoke from the heart, his words simple yet profound. He talked about the importance of empathy, of listening to each other, of finding common ground even when we disagree. He spoke about his belief in the power of unity, in the potential for positive change that exists within each of us. His message resonated deeply with the crowd, who listened intently, their faces reflecting a mixture of emotions: hope, inspiration, and a renewed sense of community. He ended with a call to action, urging everyone to continue the conversation, to keep striving for understanding and unity long after the event was over. Back inside LA Terrasse, Mr. DuPont watched the unfolding scene with a growing sense of unease. The initial wave of social media outrage had already impacted the restaurant's business. Reservations were down, and the once pristine reputation of LA Terrasse was now tarnished. He had initially dismissed the incident as a minor inconvenience, a necessary measure to maintain the restaurant's image. But now, witnessing the positive energy emanating from the event outside, he began to question his decision. He saw the diverse crowd, the smiling faces, the sense of unity that Barron had created. He saw the genuine good that was coming from an event born out of a negative experience. As he watched, a seed of doubt began to sprout in his mind. Had he made a mistake? Had he allowed his own biases and the pressures of maintaining a certain image to cloud his judgment? He started to see the situation not just from his perspective as a manager, but from Barron's perspective as a young man who simply wanted to express himself. He began to regret his actions, realizing that he had not only wronged Barron but had also missed an opportunity to demonstrate the very values of inclusivity that LA Terrasse claimed to uphold. Mustering his courage, Mr. DuPont stepped outside. He approached the edge of the crowd, his eyes searching for Barron. The music, the laughter, the aroma of food. It all washed over him, a stark contrast to the sterile, controlled environment of his restaurant. He felt a pang of regret, a longing to be a part of something real, something meaningful. When he finally found Barron, he hesitated for a moment, unsure of how he would be received. Then, taking a deep breath, he walked towards him. "Barron," he said, his voice slightly hoarse. "May I have a word?" Barron turned, surprised to see the manager standing before him. He nodded, a questioning look in his eyes. I wanted to apologize," Mr. DuPont said, the words tumbling out in a rush. "I was wrong to ask you to leave the other day. I let my own biases and the pressures of this job cloud my judgment. I should have handled the situation differently." He looked genuinely remorseful, the polished facade of the restaurant manager replaced by a vulnerability that was both surprising and endearing. Barron listened patiently, his expression unreadable. He could have easily dismissed the apology, could have reminded the manager of the humiliation he had felt, but that wasn't his way. He saw the sincerity in Mr. DuPont's eyes, the genuine regret that he was struggling to express. "Thank you," Barron finally said, his voice calm and measured. "I appreciate that. I've been watching what you've done here today," Mr. DuPont continued, gesturing towards the crowd. "It's truly impressive. You've turned a negative situation into something positive, something that's bringing people together." He paused, then added, Perhaps we could host a similar event inside LA Terrasse sometime. A joint venture to benefit the community. What do you say?" Barron considered the offer, a thoughtful expression on his face. This was an opportunity to further his message of unity, to reach an even wider audience. It was also a chance to show that even those who have made mistakes can learn and grow. "I think that's a great idea," he said, a smile finally breaking through. "I'd be happy to work with you on that." He saw in Mr. DuPont not an adversary, but a potential ally, someone who, despite his initial misstep, was willing to learn and grow. The two men shook hands, a silent agreement to move forward, to build something positive together. It was a small gesture, but it held a powerful symbolism. It was a testament to the power of forgiveness, the possibility of reconciliation, and the potential for growth that exists even in the most unlikely of circumstances. In his closing remarks, Barron addressed the crowd one last time, his voice filled with hope and optimism. This event, he declared, is proof that we can overcome division and find common ground. It shows that even small acts of kindness and understanding can have a ripple effect, creating positive change in our communities and in the world. Let's continue this conversation. Let's keep building bridges, and let's work together to create a more inclusive and understanding society for everyone. The story of Barron Trump and the MAGA hat became more than just a fleeting news item. It became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in a world often characterized by division and conflict, there is always the potential for unity and understanding. It was a powerful lesson in empathy, a testament to the transformative power of turning adversity into opportunity. Barron's actions demonstrated that true leadership lies not in retaliation or division, but in building bridges and fostering understanding. It showed that even a teenager, faced with a seemingly small injustice, could spark a movement, creating a ripple effect that extended far beyond the walls of a restaurant in Los Angeles. And it all started with a hat, a refusal to back down, and a commitment to building a better world, one conversation, one event, one connection at a time. The power of grace, understanding, and unity had triumphed, proving that even the most entrenched divisions can be overcome with empathy and a willingness to find common ground.